This is Fighting for What's Right with personal injury attorney Barry Doyle. So Barry, I want to ask you about truck accident cases. How are these different from car accident cases?
Well, the one thing that you really have to keep in mind that because of the huge size and really the destructive power of tractor trailers, there really are no such things as quote-unquote minor truck accidents. These tend to be very, very serious accidents indeed. The other thing that you have to keep in mind is that trucking companies are regulated by the federal government. They're required to carry a minimum of $750,000 worth of insurance, and it can be even higher with certain types of carriers that are carrying hazardous materials. So there's always going to be a significant amount of liability insurance that's going to be available for these types of claims. Because there's a significant amount of money that's potentially at stake in any one of these cases, insurance companies can be really, really very aggressive about trying to defend these kinds of claims.
How are trucking companies aggressive in defending cases?
Many of the large trucking companies and the insurance carriers that are involved with them have what are called go teams spread out all over the country. And these include lawyers, investigators, photographers, accident reconstructionists, so on and so forth, who really are available to go out to the scene of an accident immediately after it occurs and start investigating the accident, documenting what happened. They'll take pictures at the scene of the accident, take measurements, they'll interview witnesses right away. And because a lot of times these investigations are actually being directed by lawyers who are going to be the ones defending the claims on behalf of the insurance companies, they're very cagey about how they go about defending these claims. They'll do a preliminary interview of a witness, and if that's an interview that's not favorable, they're not going to record it or get it down in writing, and we may never know that that person was interviewed at the scene. One of the last cases I worked on before I opened up my own law firm involved a gentleman who was a passenger in a car. It was actually a pickup truck that got rear-ended out on the expressway. While they were all still sitting on the side of the road, the go team for that trucking company arrived at the scene and started taking pictures. It's one of those moments that as a lawyer you'll never ever forget, because the gentleman I was representing was an iron worker. He works construction. It's one of these jobs where you really need to have good upper body strength. And what was being claimed in that case was a torn rotator cuff. And the investigator who was brought out by the insurance company as part of their go team started taking pictures of my client and his two coworkers sitting in the front seat of this pickup truck while the police officer was still doing his write-up of the accident. And one of the things my client did, and it's nothing I'm terribly proud of, but it happened, was he stuck his arm out and flipped off the investigator for the trucking company. And one of the things that I heard about throughout the course of this case was, well, of course there couldn't be anything wrong with his shoulder. Look at the picture we just took of him sticking out his arm and raising it up. These kinds of things happen. They certainly don't happen in other kinds of car accident cases. And you need to be aware that these are accidents that are going to be aggressively investigated and defended. The other way that trucking accidents can be very different from other types of car accidents is that many times you'll find them very aggressively pushing settlements with people who are not yet represented by counsel.
And how can a trucking company pushing a settlement be a bad thing?
Well, one of my underlying beliefs is that many times quick settlements are going to be cheap settlements for the insurance company. And a lot of times you'll find people signing releases before it's really a good time for the case to be settled in terms of them completing their course of medical care.
Are there any other ways in which trucking accidents are different from ordinary car accidents?
There are quite a few ways, actually. Many times, these types of accidents will be investigated either by a major crash unit or by a special unit from the state police that comes out and does a detailed inspection of the truck and so forth. And there will be other types of documentation that will be done in terms of the official investigation of the accident that you aren't going to find in ordinary car accidents. Past that, you have to understand that trucking companies are regulated by the federal government. And the federal motor carrier safety regulations place a huge set of obligations on the trucking company in terms of what it has to do to operate in interstate commerce. Truck drivers are also limited in the number of hours that they can be driving during any given period of time time. These are called the hours of service requirements. And basically the idea behind this is you don't want truck drivers driving 80 hours a week so that they are so tired that they can't operate a tractor trailer safely. One of the things that we do is we get a hold of the logbook and make sure that the hours of service requirements are being met and honored in accordance with what's required under federal regulations. The bottom line is that there is a huge amount of information that's available to people who are investigating and prosecuting these kinds of accidents. Many trucks are equipped with what's called a dash cam, where you can actually get a video of the accident. All this information can be recovered and downloaded. The problem is that it's not often preserved indefinitely. And one of the things that we do when we're hired in any type of a trucking accident is we send off what we call our preservation letter to the trucking company saying, preserve all these records that really should exist so that we have them as part of our investigation once the case gets put into suit and is being prosecuted further.
Thanks, Barry. This has been Fighting for What's Right with personal injury attorney Barry Doyle. For more videos and information, log on to our website at fightingforwhat'sright.com.